The Parallel Experiences Project. Welcome to our new audio-video book series. What we experience is what you learn. Tips about life in Australia. In order to make life easier in a new cultural environment, many new immigrants choose to settle in their own ethnic groups. They continue to use their native language and are reluctant to use the local language. It is precisely because of this habit that new immigrants enter a vicious cycle by choosing to avoid any other language because it is less comfortable. This ongoing avoidance means that their language ability cannot be improved. We focus on practical details and encourage everyone who is learning English to share new experiences. Everyone, everywhere in the world, is welcome to use this video for English learning. We are working actively to create a lower cost and more effective language learning method for English learners around the world to learn practical English, with a special focus on Chinese people living overseas and English learners in China. Today, we want to share with you some practical English words and expressions about how to learn to drive a car in Australia. In Australia, we drive on the left side of the road. Seatbelt, used over the shoulder and lap to hold each passenger safely in their seat in case of an accident. When attaching a seatbelt, we can say, "Put on the seatbelt" or "Put on your seatbelt." Because of legal requirements, drivers and every passenger in the car must use seatbelts. If the police find that the driver or passengers in the car are not using seatbelts, the driver will face a fine. It is the driver's responsibility to ensure the belts are used correctly by each passenger before starting the car. Many newer cars will provide a signal to the driver if any doors are not properly closed or if any seatbelt is not used by any passenger. Starting the car, starting the engine or motor. Ignition of the car is a common expression in Chinese. In English, the use of the language is more direct. Start the engine, using the ignition button by pressing it or using a key. Steering wheel. This is for control, guiding, driving. We say, turn the steering wheel to move to the left or right. We hold on to the steering wheel without turning it in order to move forward straight ahead. Gear or gear stick. To move the car forward, we place the gear stick in D for D drive. To reverse, after stopping, we change the position of the gear stick to R for reverse. Handbrake. Use or apply the handbrake to keep the car from moving after stopping. Brakes. You can say hit or step on the brakes in plural, because there are more brakes than just one brake on a car. The turn indicator on the dashboard. Use the indicator to tell other vehicles your intention to turn. Rear view mirror. There is only one rear view mirror, singular. Side mirrors. There are left and right mirrors on each side, namely on the front passenger side, the left, and on the driver's side, the right. As well as using the mirrors, it is good to look over your shoulder to make sure there is no vehicle in a blind spot nearby or close behind. In other words, don't just rely on looking in the mirrors. While it might be possible always to engage a Chinese instructor to avoid using English while learning to drive, it will be better to engage English-speaking instructors for most of the time while learning, especially as English will be required during the road test. Here are some language-specific terms that we might encounter during learning and finally during the road test. Examiners who perform exams at the test centre usually check the candidates' vehicles first, and if necessary, this will include a series of checks. In order to ensure that the indicator lights of the tested vehicle are working properly, the inspections are likely to include the right and left turn signal. You may hear, "Show me that your right or left indicator is working," or "Put on the indicators." Using the brakes. While stationary, press the brake pedal to check the operation of the exterior brake lights. After the inspection is completed, the examiner will sit in the passenger seat of the candidate's vehicle to supervise the test. From parking to getting started, you may hear, "Now you may drive off from here," or simply "drive off." Turn right or left at the next intersection with traffic lights, or turn right or left at the next set of lights. On first hearing set of lights before learning to drive and when asking for directions, it is possible to be confused and to hear satellites. If the native speaker speaks very quickly, these two pronunciations can seem very similar. Roundabout ahead. Can the yellow car in the picture on the right make a right turn in front of the blue car? What do you think? Send your opinion to us. Contact details at the end. Turn right at the roundabout. In Australia, roundabouts are very common, being islands in the centre of intersections around which traffic must rotate in a clockwise direction. There will usually be 3 or 4 and sometimes more exits from the road around the central island. With GPS, you will hear "take the first exit," "take the second exit," "take the third exit," etc. The second exit is often, but not always, the one which is straight ahead in the same direction as that used when entering the roundabout. In other cases, there may be no straight ahead option as the traffic is being directed into left or right hand possibilities. It is vital to note the key road rule at roundabouts, which is always give way to another vehicle that is already on the roundabout or which is entering the roundabout at the same time or in the very near future from the right. This rule is often ignored, and it means that you must watch out for vehicles with no legal right-of-way taking the space in front of you, even when you are extremely close to entering or are already on the roundabout. Regardless of your legal right to continue, if that vehicle is going to cause you to hit it, you must do your best to avoid doing so, even when you feel that another vehicle is wrong. Provided you have a clear pathway forward, do not hesitate and proceed steadily in your direction if no vehicle is too close on your right and if no vehicle is approaching on your right at a dangerous speed. Lane change. This means moving from one lane to another when moving in the same direction as other traffic after checking that no other vehicle is too close. 2 skills that are most often tested in the exam are: 1. U-turn at a T-junction or at traffic lights where a U-turn light or U-turn permitted sign is displayed. 2. Parallel parking. The instructor may say, "Do reverse parallel parking here." Finally, let's look at the mistakes that people may make during the exam. I hope that everyone will be wary of these potential points in the process of studying this article, but if anyone is nervous, I hope everyone can understand the feedback of the examiner. Traffic lights. The examiner may say, "You have ignored the signal. You have run a red light. You have ignored an orange light." The yellow light spoken about in China is called an orange light in Australia. Remember not to ignore a red light. When the orange light is flashing, be sure to stop the car as quickly as possible while ensuring safety. Speeding. Speeding during the driving test is a big issue and remains a key issue for the entire driving future. During the test, remember not to speed, but also not to be too slow, as the examiner will think that you are too confident, that you are not confident. So, do not speed nor drive too slowly. Cutting off when lane changing. Do not cut someone off without preparing enough time and distance from other vehicles. Do not cut another vehicle off by changing lane too fast. Tailgating someone, driving too close to someone else, includes driving too close to the vehicle in front when approaching a red light. This is the end of the video book. If you like our sharing, we will work actively to bring you more topics to share. If you have a subject of interest, we will research it for you and share the results. For those viewers who are already in Australia, if you want to tell us about your experience in Australia, please write to us about it for future possible publishing at this site, whenever we are planning to share feedback. You are also able to add comments in the public area below. Contact details. Please read these carefully and use them as you wish.